Hi, I'm Montes of Colthrone, and I wanted to do a video on the situation of Israel in this moment. The wave of violence that has been in this country, all these attacks that have been very spontaneous, very random, of Palestinians or Arabs stabbing Israelis anywhere, anytime, all around the country. And practically every day there's an incidence of these. And as always, I like to analyze what's happening in these situations, or why is it happening. And I think a good place to start is with the blood moon that happened a few weeks ago. This blood moon had nothing to do with the end of the world or anything like that. The world does not understand these things. They love mocking it. They love ridiculing us that we believe that this is the end of the world, that we don't know or understand about eclipses or astronomical movements or how the universe functions. But let's do a small summary about what this really is about. This blood moon of September 28, 2015 was the last of a series of 4 blood moons that are called a tetrad. What is a tetrad exactly? Well, turns out that there are 3 types of lunar eclipses: total, partial, and penumbral. A tetrad is 4 consecutive total eclipses. Now, in the Gospels, when the disciples asked Jesus when he was coming back, he specified a series of astronomical events which included the sun, the moon, and the stars. These would function as signs, and we see in other parts of the Bible that the moon would become blood, the sun would become darkness, and the stars would fall from the sky. Now, these aren't really supernatural things, they're astronomical things. The first 2 are eclipses, and the last one is a question of clouds. But how would these be signs if there have always been eclipses and clouds? Well, there's a pastor called Mark Biltz who discovered that when a tetrad coincided with biblical festivals, interesting things happened for the nation of Israel. In the last 500 years, there have only been 3 tetrads that have coincided with biblical festivals. The first one coincided with the return of the Jews to the promised land of Israel after 2,000 years of exile. The second one coincided with the Six-Day War, where Israel recaptured the capital Jerusalem after almost 3,000 years of being separated. And the third one that coincided with biblical festivals happened in 2014 and 2015, being the last eclipse coinciding with the festival of Sukkot and happening in a Shemitah year. So, what can we expect to see for Israel with this last tetrad coinciding with biblical festivals? Well, we can't know for sure, but we can prepare and we can observe. What do we know about prophecy regarding Israel? Well, we know that the Jews were going to return to Israel, and that happened. We know that they were going to reunite with Jerusalem, and that happened. And we know that all the nations are either going to try and divide or conquer the land of Israel, and that's what's happening in this moment. The nations of the world, including Israel's best friend, United States, are trying to divide the land of Israel to create a nation state called Palestine. The creation of a nation of Palestine in the territory of Israel is exactly what the Bible says about the nations trying to divide the land of Israel. And the consequences of this is to anger God, to defy Him, to practically declare war against Him. Israel is the heritage of none less than Jesus Christ, Lord of Lords, King of Kings. That's where He is going to return to reign over the world and establish His kingdom. To divide the land of Israel is to go against that plan and that purpose, and to destroy the heritage of Jesus. So, what has happened since this last eclipse of September 28th? Well, on the 30th of September, the United Nations, for the first time in history, they raised the Palestine flag on their headquarters in New York, a very clear and public declaration that the world is united in its purpose of dividing Jesus' heritage. The 1st of October, President Netanyahu condemned the United Nations for their support to the Iran nuclear deal.
Last month, Khamenei once again made his genocidal intentions clear. Before Iran's top clerical body, the Assembly of Experts, he spoke about Israel, home to over 6 million Jews. He pledged, quote, there will be no Israel in 25 years. End quote. 70 years after the murder of 6 million Jews, Iran's rulers promised to destroy my country, murder my people. And the response from this body, the response from nearly every one of the governments represented here, has been absolutely nothing. Utter silence. Deafening silence. Perhaps you can now understand why Israel is not joining you in celebrating this deal.
That same day, an Israeli couple were killed in front of their children on the West Bank by terrorists, which is the beginning of the violence that we're seeing right now in Israel every day, which has many people worried that this is the beginning of the third intifada. And on local news on the 3rd of October in the Bolivar Plaza, headquarters of the Colombian government in Bogota, the Palestinian flag was raised. This report says that for the first time, the Palestinian flag was raised in the Bolivar Plaza as an act of solidarity with the cause of this country that has suffered with war just like Colombia has. We feel very proud because for the first time in history, the Palestinian people were recognized as a state non-permanent of the United Nations. 139 countries has recognized the Palestinian state. This act shows the bond between both countries and the commitments between both of them. That's why they are making demands to the national government. We demand President Santos to recognize the Palestinian people. You cannot ignore the reality. Palestine lives. Something else that was curious about this 70th summit of the United Nations, which coincided with the eclipse of Sukkot, includes the formal and official presentation of the Global Goals for Sustainable Development, which is basically a world plan to implement 17 objectives which will save the planet and humanity.
We can be.
We must be the first generation
to end extreme poverty.
The generation
Most determined
to fight injustice
and inequalities.
The generation that saves the planet from climate change.
And this is how it will get done.
The global goals.
a 15-year plan
For everyone. Everywhere.
with no one left behind.
We will live in a world
where nobody
anywhere lives in extreme poverty.
Where no one
goes hungry.
where no one wakes in the morning
Asking if there will be food today.
We will live in a world where no child has to die.
Diseases we know how to cure.
and where proper health care
Is a lifelong right for us all.
We will live in a world
Where everyone
goes to school.
and education gives us the knowledge
and skills
For a fulfilling life.
We will live in a world where all girls and all women have equal opportunities
to thrive
And be powerful.
and safe.
we cannot succeed if half the world is held back.
We will live in a world
where all people can get clean water
and proper toilets
At home, at school, and at work.
We will live in a world where
there is sustainable energy for everyone.
Heat, light,
And power for the whole planet.
without destroying the planet.
We will live in a world where economies prosper.
and new wealth.
Leads to decent jobs.
for everyone.
And we will live in a world
Where our industry,
our infrastructure and our
Best innovations.
Are not just used to make money, but to make all our lives better.
We will live in a world
where prejudices and extremes of inequality
are defeated
inside our countries
and between different countries.
Where people live in cities and communities
that are safe, progressive,
and support everyone who lives there.
Where we replace
what we consume.
Planet where we put back what we take out of the earth.
We live in a world that is decisively rolling back the threat of
climate change.
Where we restore and protect the life in our oceans and seas.
Where we restore and protect
life on land.
The forests.
Animals.
The earth itself.
with peace between and inside countries.
Where all governments are open.
And answer to us for what they do at home and abroad.
And the justice rules.
With everyone equal before the law.
Where all countries and we their people
work together
in partnerships of all kinds
to make these goals a reality
for everyone, everywhere.
These are the United Nations global goals
for sustainable development.
Let's get to work. Let's make it happen.
It sounds great. It sounds like a utopia for humanity. But how are you going to implement such ambitious goals? Well, that's why everybody has to commit as a global citizen. And the entertainment artists of all the world are going to be promoting this to the millions of followers they have. And surely we can expect to see these goals promoted a lot in movies, TV, magazines, newspapers, schools, and public institutions of training and education. Only that there's one little detail that they haven't shared, and is that to implement and manage such ambitious goals that are so big, it's absolutely necessary to have a global government body to direct and monitor the implementation of these goals around the whole world in all the countries. And what is a government without an army to enforce its laws? Well, it turns out that in this summit of the United Nations in New York, there was the official launch of the Strong Cities Network, which technically is a network of local authorities in various cities around the world uniting but under one scheme in order to share information and combat against terrorism. Coincidence? Brothers, if I would have shared this information 2 years ago, it would have been considered as conspiracy theories. But none of this is conspiracy theories. This has all been launched and presented officially and formally in the United Nations in New York. These are things that are declared, proposed, and put into action. We will talk about this in a future video because all of this is nothing more than socialism. And I want to talk about socialism, about what it really is, because socialism is a direct antonym of Christianity. I want to talk and I want to argue about how socialism is the most evil political system ever. And I want to argue about how the Soviet Union really won the Cold War and how this has created the platform for a new world order and the reign of the Antichrist. I'll see you soon. Bye.